Well, hello and welcome to episode number 397 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. Beers affecting me there. In this week's packed show, Airbus and Qatar argue about paint. Airbus rents out an aircraft to earn a few quid, and a Boeing 747 that cost a quid is turned into a nightclub. In the military news this week, another F-35 crashes into the ocean. This time it's an American F-35C into the South China Sea, while pictures emerge of the recovered F-35 that plopped into the sea a few weeks ago. A couple of ex-RAF BAE 146s are heading to museums, and Armando talks about how the Air Force is tackling its own pilot shortage. And joining me this week across the village over in the PTUK Master Suite studios, and he's fully clothed, it's Matt Smith.
Charming. Yes, I am, absolutely. You are allowed back in the studio, by the way, now, because apparently it's all finished.
I know. Next week I intend on coming back. I've got to tell you, actually, next week I intend on coming back in there.
Do you? Right. Well, I better put the Hoover around.
and I've been storing up a shed load of beers in the garage. So.
Yeah, I've basically been teetotal since you haven't been in the studio. You know, you realise
you won't be next week.
Oh, good.
Next
right.
Week,
okay.
Next week's show, guys, will be entertaining.
Will it? Right. Okay. Let's hope John's not here because he'll be quite stressed about that. No doubt.
Heaven forbid.
Well, yes, quite.
And also joining me this week as well, back on the show after doing about 10 billion miles this week with BA, it's Neville Bounds.
Yes, here I am, back for some more.
Hey, what you got there?
Thanks to those nice fellas at Edinburgh Airport at the lounge, I got a couple of the Jetstream Brewdog beers. Not quite as good as the Speedbird 100, but a bold 8 out of 10, I would say.
Oh, say all right. So not a disaster then.
No, indeed,
no.
Not. No. So, but no, good to be back after a couple of days of flying this week, Edinburgh and back, and they're getting very busy now. The flights as well, mind you, primarily because they haven't got the 7 or 8 flights a day they used to run from Heathrow to Edinburgh. But nonetheless, they're packing them in again now. So
I mean, that's the second time quite recently that you've done the same route, isn't it?
Yeah, I was to Glasgow the previous week and Edinburgh this week.
Oh right. Oh sorry, my apologies. But yeah.
When you check in, Nev, because I'm guessing you fly from Heathrow on these flights. When you check in at Heathrow, do they not just go, "Oh, hi Nev, how are you? You all right?"
It was funny. I was taking one of my colleagues with me who was flying from Glasgow, so we went up to the lounge area, and I showed them my boarding pass on my phone. And, of course, they said, "Oh, yes, good morning, Mr. Bounds." And my colleague hadn't quite twigged that I had shown him my name on the phone. And he goes, "My God, they even know you by name."
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. They do. I assume you didn't correct them, of course. I mean,
definitely not.
Quite.
No.
Honestly, they're
Nice.
probably going to invest like millions in an actual lane just for Nev to walk through straight through security.
Not quite.
I mean, they may as well.
I agree. I wholeheartedly. I think that's the way forward. Yeah.
Just literally a lane that goes all the way from check-in straight through to seat 1A.
That would be nice.
Yeah, can you imagine? Yes. That's the ultimate fast track. Yeah.
And joining us this week from across the pond is, of course, our legend of all things military. It's Armando.
Hello, team. How is everybody?
All right. All the better for seeing you, sir. I feel like it's been ages. Where have you been?
Well, it's only been 2 weeks.
Is it? Feels like a lot longer, I'll be honest.
Lightly like my puppy who doesn't remember that I just walked out the door.
Fair enough. Yes, absolutely. That's the first time I've been compared to a puppy. Thanks for that.
It's a compliment.
Now, Armando, we've for those of you who follow Armando on social media will know that Armando's been doing lots of flying.
Yes, it's been a bit cold.
It's safe to say, Armando, that the weather your side of the globe is slightly more, what should we say,
Volatile.
Wintry than what we
Yeah,
have.
it certainly is.
Also,
I think other parts of the country have suffered a little bit more than we have. I think the Northeast, but here in the Southeast United States, whenever it snows or there's a flurry, everything shuts down and becomes chaos. But the last 3 weekends in a row here in Charlotte, North Carolina, we've actually had some kind of wintry precipitation, including tonight. We're supposed to get some snow tonight.
Wow.
And that doesn't stop us from flying. So
Wow.
I've gone to a couple destinations. I took a client up to ski in West Virginia. So that was a really pretty awesome approach. I wish I would have had a GoPro on that one, but it was a Pilatus flight. So it was a great flight doing what the Pilatus was designed to do, which was a steep approach into a mountainous airstrip that was covered in snow, which is where the pictures that I sent you guys came from. But awesome, cool little approach. And funny enough, there were 2 other platypuses on the ramp. So apparently that's the charter aircraft of choice to go into that airstrip.
Absolutely. Mike has just been in touch. Look, he's just saying, hello, boys and girls. We're expecting 12 to 18 inches of snow tomorrow. That's 20 to 30 centimetres, plus winds at 50 miles an hour. I mean, wow.
That's no joke.
No, absolutely not. Good. Well,
how
stay
is Sierra
safe, everyone.
Tango, Armando?
Great airplane. Running strong.
Awesome. I do miss it. I'm gonna have to get one of those play flights and come over and do some more flying. Anyway,
I just say your wife hasn't forgiven you for the last one yet.
I know.
I'd probably leave it a bit longer.
I'm still digging myself out of that hole
I would,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, absolutely. Good
I'll
luck with that.
I will redeem myself tomorrow, and I do some painting. Anyway,
wow.
Let's have a look at who has joined us in the live YouTube room today. But actually, first, we have an update, don't we, Nev, and on what's going on?
Oh, in terms of what exactly?
It was an update on the crew member that was
yes.
The guy. Remember the guy who flew BA, and he
Yes.
allegedly said he was on his own.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Well, if you were listening to that, we were a bit not entirely skeptical. We were slightly surprised, but there has been an update, and it says that an alleged crew member has commented on the TikTok video to say that he was not the only person on the plane, and that he was one of 13 people in that back section of the cabin. There apparently were 83 passengers in economy, along with passengers in premium and business class as well.
Oh.
Oops.
Oh.
Awkward.
Oh.
Also, we have an update from episode 374. Cast your minds back.
What?
The Klein Vision Air car that we featured in story number 11. And that has received its airworthiness certificate this week by the Slovak Transport Authority.
Well, that's exciting.
So if you check yourself out on episode 374, that was story number 11 we done, and that was the Klein Vision Air car.
Wow.
So Google that. It looks rather interesting, I will say. Anyway, let's have a look at the YouTube chat room and see who has joined us in there this evening. Loads of people in there. We had GB's Model Zone was in right at the beginning of the evening before we even went live. So hello to you, GB's Model Zone. We've got in there Mazus. Hello to you, Mazus. Hopefully me and Matt will come and see you soon.
Yes, we need to get that in the diary ASAP.
And Stephen Ivy, hello to you, Stephen. Great to see you in the live room this evening, Stephen. Nick Codling, hello to you, Nick. Hope you're well. Arnie Carlson, hello to you, Arnie. Masha as well is joining us there. Hope things are warmer your side of Europe, Masha. Neil Lamworn is also in the chat room. We've got Neville Bounds is in there, obviously keeping an eye on things.
Of course.
Richard Adams, hello to you, Richard. Our main man, Uncle Micah, has joined us in there. APG Show is also in the chat room this evening, keeping an eye on things. So good evening to everyone who's joined us this evening. Don't forget, if you are listening to mine, Matt's, Nev's, and Armando's glorious voices on the audio podcast, and you want to see what we all look like,
don't do it. Don't do it.
Armando is stunning. You can take yourselves over to.
I'm turning my touch up my appearance on right now.
Right, very good.
You can
again, what you do in your own time, none of my business.
Take yourselves over to YouTube, click on, or find us first, click on youtube.com/Plain Talking UK. Don't forget to click that subscribe button and also the bell icon, which is right next door, to be notified when we're live and recording new new episodes, so you can join all the other members of our family in the live chat room, because, as we always say, the chat room is what makes, well, it makes the show, doesn't it, guys?
It does indeed. That's what she said. Sorry.
Exactly. So, guys, we have got a packed show tonight. We've got tons and tons of commercial news to get through. There's been a lot happening this week. So if everyone's ready, all the team ready?
Indeed. Yes.
Ready?
Let's go. So kicking off this week's first news story, and this one is coming to us from about 6,000 different news feeds, but we've got businessinsider.com, reuters.com, onemileatatime.com, simpleflying.com, gulfnews.com, traveldailymedia.com, to say but a few. And this is a story that we've been looking at now for a few weeks on the show, and this is regarding the flaking paint issue with Qatar Airways and Airbus. So tensions between Airbus and longtime customer Qatar Airways continues to grow after the manufacturer cancelled a multi-billion-dollar plane order from the airline. Airbus confirmed to Insider on Friday that it's cancelled Qatar's order for 50 Airbus A321 jets amid an ongoing dispute over paint issues on the carrier's A350 aircraft. In 2017, the two entities entered the $6.35 billion contract, and the first aircraft was scheduled to be delivered to Qatar in 2023. According to Reuters. At the heart of the issue is the dispute, an A350's paint issue that causes the paint to crack and bubble and expose a specific lightning protection layer on some of the A350s. The carrier, which brought back A380 super jumbos to replace costly capacity, or the loss of capacity, is seeking more than $700 million in compensation after being unable to use their A350s. $618 million, though, through December 17th, and a further $4.2 million per day. Wow. Airbus has acknowledged that airlines, including Finnair, have seen similar paint issues, but no other carrier has grounded planes, and the manufacturer disputes Qatar's characterization of the problem as a safety concern. Qatari regulators eventually grounded 21 planes despite a parallel EASA probe, which found no flight safety risks to question the A350's airworthiness. Airbus maintains it has provided a full root cause analysis of the problem, which Qatar disputes. The plane maker will contend that Qatar Airways sought to engineer or has the long word there, in groundings because it's the airline's economic interest to idle planes given the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on demand. The hearing will take place in London. Yes, you heard me correctly. In London, the UK, High Court, with the initial date set for April the 26th. Airbus has been given until February the 28th to prepare its defense. Qatar Airways made a statement to social media last Friday, publishing a video of the scarred exterior of the grounded A350 jets that the airline said underscored serious and legitimate safety concerns. Now, Matt did play that video just a moment ago. Willie Walsh, CEO of IATA, the body representing global airlines, said of the plane maker's decision to revoke a jetliner contract, he said that I would hate to think that one of the suppliers is taking advantage of their current, and where did it just jump there? Just jump there. The current market strength to exploit their position, and that is something we are watching very closely. In the past couple of weeks, Qatar Airways has started leasing 3 of Oman Air's A330-300s to help cope with passenger demand. The Qatari airline is one of Airbus's biggest customers and was even the launch customer of the Airbus A350. Now, Matt, you did play that video whilst I was reading that just then, and I have to say, it looks hideous, but Armando, what do you think about the safety implementations of paint flaking from an aircraft?
Well, I certainly don't work for Qatar Airways, and what they consider their safety standards, probably a little bit different than mine. Stephen Ivy in the chat room is saying that he's flown some pretty ragged-looking airplanes where he wasn't actually sure what airline they belonged to. I know here in the U.S. I've flown some pretty ratty-looking airplanes. Never worried about safety, and I don't know. I guess I don't see what they're looking at, but you have to think that they have good reason to declare a safety issue if they're willing to cancel $6 billion worth of aircraft. They must obviously see something there. Hopefully it's not just aesthetics on the aircraft, but
I can say, am I being really cynical here where I'm saying, is there a chance that there's an ulterior motive behind is this almost being used as an excuse for something else? Perhaps if we are just coming out of the back of a hideously expensive, especially for airlines. There's no two ways about that. Are we coming out of the back of a pandemic that where they could do without spending that kind of money and don't need to, and this is being used as a way of trying to back out of a contract? Is that me being dodgy?
Everything's possible, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems a bit odd, doesn't it? I appreciate that. Yeah, mind you, although again, I suppose if you've just spent all that money on a new aircraft, you want it to be super shiny for at least 2 or 3 years. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to. You shouldn't expect to see flaky paint after what.
Even most car manufacturers give you what is it, Nev? 5-year paint guarantee?
Yes, and some Korean manufacturers give you a 7-year.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, that is very true.
Yes.
And that's for like a £10,000 or £15,000 car, not a 10 or 15 million pounds.
100 million. Yeah.
But I will say Qatar must be desperate if they're leasing Oman Air's A330s, because having flown on a couple of Oman Air's A330s, they're not brilliant aircraft to fly on, I will say, interior wise. But anyway.
So actually, interestingly enough, so we just had something come in on the WhatsApp. I'm not saying I won't say the name just in case, but anyway, the message says, worked as a painter at Airbus on the A380. This is a surprise as they are a professional company and they should be approaching paint suppliers with this problem. So perhaps it isn't the paint, perhaps it's the manufacturer of the paint is the problem, perhaps, rather than something else. There you go.
Yeah, paint's a funny old thing. You have to be very
absolutely.
Careful.
And is it the primer? It's again, isn't it? There could be so many variables as to why this is started to flake, but I'm sure we'll find out in good time. I'm sure. Yeah.
But from lots of money going adrift to an aircraft manufacturer.
Yeah,
making a food quid.
Yeah, doing something a bit different. So this is coming from Reuters, AIN Online, and thebusinessinsider.com. And the headline is Airbus to create own airline to rent out the whale plane. Airbus plans to charter out its whale-shaped beluga transport planes, whose main job until now has been to ferry aircraft parts between its plants in Europe to help other industries haul urgently needed outsized machinery by air. The Airbus said that the move to rent out spare capacity on its existing Beluga ST and its new Beluga XL transporters would lead to the creation of a commercial cargo airline subsidiary from 2023. Analysts say demand for outsized cargoes that can be transported without dismantling them has been rising, partly on the back of weakened supply chains. Logistics managers turn to oversized airplanes when there is no time to use seaplanes. Within the past few years, even before COVID-19, we were approached by several companies asking if the Beluga aircraft was available to perform some chartered flights, said business development manager Risa Fazholahi, and until recently Airbus had trouble meeting such demand because the aerospace industry was running at peak capacity. But analysts say lower output of large passenger jets and an industry-wide slump during the pandemic have meant older Belugas have more time left on the clock than first expected. The Beluga ST is only at 50% of their life. They've been designed for 30,000 flight cycles and currently have an average of 15,000, said Philippe Sabot, head of Airbus Transport International. The Beluga's 128-foot-long cargo holds can take cargo items up to 23 feet wide and 22 feet high. The ST model carries a payload capacity of 40 metric tons, that's 88,183 pounds, while the XL can carry 44 metric tons, that's 97,001 pounds. That £1 is very important. The Beluga can operate on runways of at least 6,561 feet and airport altitudes of up to 8,500 feet. This week, Airbus unveiled new hardware that it says will make the Beluga operations more cost effective. They include a multi-purpose pallet that can adjust to the length to match the dimensions of the payload in 2-meter long modules. It is also now positioning new loading platforms at various airports around the world and can dispatch Belugas with a new onboard loader that it can use to lift loads away from the aircraft's Toll House base. Toulouse, sorry, not Toll House. Honestly, I've even been there. That's really poor.
You have actually been there, mate.
Yeah. Airbus has designated the following cities as likely hubs for oversized freight operations. So we've got Hong Kong, Beijing, Singapore, Dubai, Doha. We've got Baikonur. We've got Bungi. We've also got Liège, Derby, Marseille, Montreal, Cincinnati, Cape Canaveral, Cayenne, as in the pepper, Los Angeles, and Seattle. So I mean that's what
Airbus hasn't done this before.
Yeah, do you know what I was thinking?
I know they're busy, but
no, I know, but I suppose they're not as busy as they were, and of course, I mean, Boeing has a similar sort of like equivalent, doesn't it? That is capable.
Yeah, the Dreamlifter.
The Dreamlifter. I mean, as you say, I'm surprised that they haven't. Sort of, as you say, I'm surprised that some of these airlines haven't done it before. I mean, we've got some great pictures as well that John has shared with us, and links to the stories are on will be in the show notes for those listening to the audio version. But this is the oversight. It's like you can literally shove a helicopter in it. I just love that you can, the different size. I still find it fascinating that you can sort of open the roof. Do you know what I mean? Which I mean, obviously makes sense to get the large payloads in, but it's just such they're amazing aircraft.
It does look amazing,
yeah, absolutely.
If you see the videos of these taken off, it is.
Yeah, I bet.
Unreal.
I bet it's a stunning bit of as I say, it looks like it's been painted to look like a dolphin, isn't it? I love it. I think it looks like a dolphin. But as you say, look, you can even get like a whole aircraft fin in, for example. It's.
Have you had a chance to see these up close and personal, Nev? Or
yes, I have. I went to Harden, which is where they take off and land, just on the North Wales English border. And I've seen a couple of them, the Belugas, and very impressive they are as well, actually. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
Incredible, isn't it? It's. I mean, I'd be fascinated to know what impact that those aerodynamics have on things like fuel burn and stuff like that, because that must have quite the impact, obviously, with the taller fuselage and things. But there we go.
Yes, although I guess that's actually used for quite short routes, though. Yeah. UK to Spain and Germany and France. Yeah. So not very long routes, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think the cargo area is pressurised.
Oh, is it not? Okay.
Mind
you, I guess it wouldn't need to
be. The chat room probably. Yeah,
they'll know the answer, won't they?
They'll know the answer. I don't think it's pressurised on the Beluga. Armando?
I don't actually know. I've never seen the Beluga. I've seen the Dreamlifter in Toronto, Italy, when I was flying there, but I don't know too much about these aircraft.
Interesting. No. So from one large aircraft to another large aircraft, and Nev, this is a BA aircraft with a difference.
It is, and you might have, if you've been following the UK press this week, last week, the week before, there's been a theme in the news about parties, mainly, allegedly involved. the UK government and things like that. I'm saying allegedly because the report's not out yet. But the theme continues, and this is on the wiltsglossstandard.co.uk, independent.co.uk, and on YouTube. And it says that an iconic 747 British Airways jet, bought for just £1, has become the first in the world to be transformed into a bar to host lavish plane parties. The BA Negus party plane is now in situ at Cotswold Airport and is available for revellers to hire. It's been remodelled into an event space to host everything from private birthday parties to product launches and corporate events. The aircraft is being preserved at the site near Cirencester after British Airways retired its fleet early because of the travel downturn caused by the pandemic. It was bought in 2020 and has since been a labour of love for the airport's chief executive, Susanna Harvey. I paid £1 for her, she says, and we have a certain obligation to maintain it as is practical for public use, she said. The company has had to spend nearly £500,000 getting her prepped and ready here, but I think it's money well spent, and it preserves her for future generations. Most of the original structure has stayed the same, but the transformation has included stripping out most of the economy section to create the event space and turning the galley into a bar. A full rewiring with custom lighting has also been done, as well as a deep clean. Susanna added, it's been a long slog. She came into us in October 2020, and at the time I rather naively thought we'd have her up and running by the following Easter. We've had such tremendous support from everybody, all the contractors, all the people that have volunteered and who are current BA 747 engineers. And here we are finally. She's ready and she's good to go. Anyone wanting to host a party on board will have to pay more than £1,000 an hour, but Susanna said they have been inundated with inquiries, including from Netflix.
Right. Okay. None from number 10, as far as we're aware.
Well, perhaps they've got their request in already.
Possibly, yes. It'll be anonymous, I'm sure.
Yeah. Classic.
See what I did there? Are we the only ones left on the call? Has everyone gone?
I think everybody's fed up with it.
Fair enough. Okay.
No, sorry. I was being handed a cup of tea. I've just brought a cup of tea in. But no, Nev, I love this, and the fact that it's £1,000 an hour to rent this to have a party would probably put me off slightly.
Yes, I mean, perhaps we'll give them a call and see if we can pop down there and do some interviews or something like that. At least we can then see it for ourselves and then decide whether
if it's worth £1,000 an hour,
whether the Patreon fund can run to it.
Yeah, I can say in 2 years' time, perhaps the price will have dropped. Perhaps it could be our 500th location.
There you are. Yeah.
I said when we had the planner meeting last night for the show, I did say to the guys then that it's nice to see the fact that they've not been the whole entire aircraft.
Yeah, it does still look like an aircraft. Yeah,
they've kept some of the like is it the Club World Suites, Nev?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've kept those and some of the premium. I think the
but realistically, what sort of state are they going to be in? Especially if there's been a load of revelers, doing what they do, which is revel. I mean, what kind of state are these so-called lovely seats going to be in? I mean, it's not exactly.
I don't think they'll be allowed to go in that section. I think it's just going to be purely for the. But I'm gutted that they didn't leave it in flying. Well, it probably isn't flying. I think the engines are still on this one, aren't they, Nev? I don't think they took I don't think they took the Rolls-Royce in. They might have done.
Can't remember.
But it would be great to see a flying nightclub.
Hang on, John did give us some. Oh no, I thought we got some pictures as well, but we haven't. We just got.
That is something I'd love to see if it still flow. If it could still fly.
Yeah, see if I can see anything. I'm just
there might be a few CAA safety issues.
Normally they would remove the engines because of what they want, for parts and stuff.
Here
like
we go.
that.
Hang on, I found.
There should be a video.
Let's have a look. There you go. I'm just. We're just having a quick pan across. Let's have a look. Just get to the. Off. There's the tail end section. Yeah. I don't know. The exhaust and everything's all still there, isn't it? No clue on the video.
APU exhaust is there. Yeah, you can't really.
Oh, hang on. No, I think you're right. Hang on, they are still there. Look, hang on. There you go. Look, they are still there.
Oh yeah.
Well, there you are.
I thought they would have sold them, but
Well,
Aha. Aircraft experts. Those are engines, indeed.
yes, all right. Yes. Yeah, you make a valid point, to be fair.
Thank you, Armando. And actually, while we're on the subject of Armando, next story is yours, and it's all about largest aircraft.
Yeah, aircraft engines galore. This one has 6 engines. If you guys haven't seen this video, the actual world's largest aircraft now has been doing a couple test flights.
Oh.
So this article came out on Flying Magazine, and it's the pilots talking about their experiences with with this aircraft. So this is 500,000 pound 6-engine twin fuselage jet, and it was flying a low approach over the runway about 100 feet. And the pilot, that's called the straddle launch, the pilot, Mark Guidro Giddings, goes by Guidro, was flying left seat in the world's largest airplane. It was the result of months and months of simulator practice and years of experience. His co-pilot, Evan Thomas, and a flight engineer, Jake Riley, they successfully completed the third test flight on Sunday of this aircraft. They've nicknamed it the Rock, which is scheduled to begin air launching hypersonic test vehicles later this year. Now, this massive aircraft, as you're watching the video and looking at the pictures, took off from runway 30 at Mojave Air and Space Port a little bit before 9 a.m. last Sunday. The visibility was clear, the air was smooth, and the winds were calm. Thomas, the co-pilot, said, "It was a great day to fly. The cloud deck was down to 7,000 feet, and we just decided to hope for the best." That's always great in aviation. Hope for the best, and it kind of opened up and allowed us to fly. Now, this was Giddings' first time in the Rock's left seat. 8 months earlier, during the test flight number 2, Giddings sat in the right seat, running the throttles and watching Thomas handle the landing. Right, so they're taking turns going back and forth. It was a nearly 4.5-hour mission. Turned out to be the program's most productive flight so far, expanding the proven test envelope to an altitude of 23,500 feet and a maximum speed of 180 knots indicated airspeed. Now, the crew successfully moved the aircraft's landing gear doors, retracted and re-extended one of its landing gear. Oh, they should have tried all of them. Proving for the first time that the system would actually operate during flight. So, as a veteran U.S. Air Force test pilot, how do you land an airplane with a 385-foot wingspan? And how does it rank against landing other notable jets in his career? So he told Flying Magazine that for him, this was up there with landing the U-2. It was definitely exciting, probably an understatement. To ensure the safest landing possible, the flight crew flew 2 low approaches over the runway. During the second pass, the straddle launch chief technical officer, Daniel Millman, described that Giddings carefully controlled the airplane about 100 feet off the ground, flying along the center line to ensure that he had the controllability that he was looking for, what they used to call in the B-52 a landing attitude demo. And Giddings said it was interesting because the first approach wasn't as stable as he wanted it to be. It was his first time in the pattern. So for the second pass, he worked on increasing the aircraft's stability, and all of that training that they had done came into play with that. Another key mission for the flight on Sunday was to retract and extend the mid-main gear on the left fuselage. Man, this is going to get complicated for the first time in flight. For this, the pilots would actually need assistance from straddle launches, Cessna Citation, the chase plane. The pilots have always coordinated with a chase plane during flight. Chase airplanes are, of course, part of a standard formation, and the crew aboard that chase plane became an extra set of eyes for what was happening with the rest of the airplane. In the coming months, we can expect to see this aircraft fly a little bit more often. That's according to the chief technical officer. Plans are already underway for a 4th test flight, and following that, a pylon will be installed on the aircraft's wing on their 5th flight to allow it to carry and launch hypersonic test vehicles.
It looks interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting.
I'd just be a bit worried about that actual, well, not a join, but that kind of central section between the 2 aircraft. where essentially, I suppose you could say they would be joined together. But I think on the video,
there's been quite a few. Well, I guess maybe not quite a few, but enough aircraft that have been made with two fuselages.
What is the plural of that?
Yeah, sometimes I guess like the
couple of them long things.
Yeah. So I'm sure they've thought about this, but like Micah says in the chat room, it looks like a B-52 mated with Burt Rutan's Voyager.
Now there is an image that will frighten people for years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there you go, Arnie, coming in with the knowledge bomb. He says that the Strato launch. People call the airplane the Rock after the giant eagle of Arabian mythology.
Oh, wow.
I love
that.
You see, guys, that's why we have a chat room.
Absolutely. They know far more than we ever will. Blimey.
I know.
Yeah.
So the next story, moving on to story number 5, this one, 1 mile at a time, this comes to us from .com, liveandletsfly.com and mako.co.il. And everyone knows I do love an upgrade, especially when they're free.
Okay.
Definitely love an upgrade when they're free. And this headline is United Airlines flight to Israel diverts due to self-upgraders. I have to admit, I always wait to be asked if I want an upgrade. I don't just go and assume I'm going to have an upgrade. The incident involves United Airlines flight UA90 from Newark to Tel Aviv on Thursday, January the 20th. Operated by 787-10, the flight was scheduled to depart Newark at 11:05 p.m. and arrive in Tel Aviv at 4:20 p.m. Friday. The flight departed Newark as scheduled, but then problems arose after takeoff. According to reports, 2 passengers tried to self-upgrade themselves to business class, thinking that because the cabin wasn't full, they should be allowed to sit there. Of course, the crew told them that's not how it works, but the passengers refused to comply and returned to their original assigned seats, and witnesses on board claim that these passengers then rioted. Yes, you heard me right. They had a riot. At this point, the plane was near United States and Canada border, and the decision was made to return to Newark to offload the passengers. The plane ended up landing back at Newark shortly after 1:30 a.m., a bit over 2 hours after departure. Police met the flight on arrival, and the passengers were allegedly arrested. United's flight status page suggests that the airline tried to reschedule the flight for 2:20 a.m. However, the flight was eventually cancelled. Wow. Okay. Nev?
Pro tip from your Uncle Nev, don't write on a plane.
Right.
Yes.
And one thing that was interesting on this one, from Newark to Tel Aviv is quite a long slog. On a 787-10. I can't remember if there's any fuel dumping facility on that aircraft or not. But the flight might have landed overweight as well. So
wow.
Much ongoing delay and all the rest of it, I would imagine. And someone did tell me what sort of the cost of a diversion is, or a return to your home airport. It's sort of.
I don't suppose it's cheap.
$10,000 or $20,000.
Oh, at least, absolutely.
It's a lot. Especially, of course, then everybody's out of position and the crew might go out of hours now because of the delay they've picked up. All sorts of things ongoing. So horrific.
Yeah, I still can't get my head round how in this day and age this is still a thing. I mean, I do despair for the human race sometimes. I really do.
I mean, you guys know what happened with me. I flew out to the US last month. And, BA very kindly offered, they upgraded me. And, and it was nice. They upgraded, and I accepted, obviously, because it was, better to sit in the nicer space cabin. But, that was a nice gesture from the crew, and it was fantastic, a really nice thing to do. But you don't, as much as we walk past the first class and business class sections when you're doing long haul flights, and they may be empty, which a lot of times they sometimes are empty seats, I mean, to think that you think, I'll just get up at my economy seat, just walk forward and plonk myself down in first class, after I paid 300 quid for my economy seat. Yeah, it's not gonna, doesn't wash very well, I don't think, with the crews.
It's the whole lack of respect thing. That's still the thing that's annoying me.
But rough numbers. There's on average 115,000 commercial flights every single day. So I mean, this is statistically minor, and probably along the lines of people that are going to be dumb and don't understand the consequences of their actions. So it's probably right in line with, with other modes of transportation or just in general life. Because I guarantee you, if they're doing this in the air, they probably live their lives
doing that on the ground. Yeah, true. Yeah.
Could you imagine poor Nev, sitting in 1A, and someone from row 400 million comes up to Nev's row and plonks.
Well, I just give them the look.
That is true. That would be very effective. It has to be said. That'd be far effective.
Also, I have to take my mask off to do it.
Of course, absolutely. But I think in that scenario, it'd be worth it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mark has been in touch via the WhatsApp. It says that just give them the bill while they're in jail. Can't believe how stupid some people can be. Very dangerous to safety of this or any aircraft, to be fair.
Yeah. I think John said in our internal notes, he said his opinion is that United should absolutely pursue them for every bit of the disruption.
Yeah. It's almost like it almost shouldn't matter how much something like this costs to put through the courts. Do you know what I mean? There's a principle at stake here, in my opinion. Yeah,
not good.
No.
So Matt,
not. Yes.
Next story for you, and this is regarding. Actually, we were talking about this last night. It's regarding an airline that actually has some aircraft stored at Norwich Airport.
Oh. Okay, all right.
Anyway.
Then. So it's from simpleflying.com, and the headline is Flight Systems Stolen from Arik Air Boeing 737. Wow. An Arik Air Boeing 737 is minus its flight management system after thieves broke into the plane while it was parked in Lagos and made off with a valuable piece of kit. The theft was followed by another security breach where customs officials threatened airport security officers with violence if they did not let them pass unhindered through a security gate. According to Nigerian news outlets, the theft took place late last Wednesday evening or in the early hours of Thursday morning. The jet, a Boeing 737-700, registration Echo India Union Lima November, leased from NZ's Airlines, had arrived in Murtala Muhammad International Airport from Harcourt late on Wednesday afternoon. Airport insiders say that the theft occurred between 2300 hours on Wednesday, the 19th of January, and 0700 hours the next day. In addition to the flight management system, thieves tampered with the pilot static cover and other sensitive parts of the aircraft. The aircraft was parked inside the tarmac at MM2, the airport's domestic Terminal 2, and someone got access to the electronic base where we have all the systems. Nigeria's Daily Sun was told there is a door underneath the aircraft where they opened and got access to remove the flight management computer. It is impossible for a novice to have successfully removed the flight computer management system that was stolen clearly by an expert, the unnamed insider said. The theft rendered the Arik Air Boeing inoperable. It has remained in Lagos since the incident and has knock-on effects across the Arik Air network. Lagos, based try that again. Lagos-based Arik Air has a fleet of 18 planes, including 5 Boeing 737-300s that scoot around Nigeria and the West African region. The airline has 2 737-700s on lease from Mongolia-based Enzi's airline, essential to any modern commercial passenger plane. The flight management system automates a wide variety of in-flight tasks, including flight plans, navigation, and position determination. The equipment that was stolen is small, but it cost a lot of money to repair it. It's going to cost around $15,000, and a brand new one costs something in the region of $300,000 as of 2021, the Son's source said. Every item in an airplane has serial numbers and can be tracked anywhere in the world, so I don't know how the thief intends selling it unless the person has a vendor. That is why we believe it's an internal sabotage, the source said. I mean, this is not like a part that you can steal and then shove in another machine, is it? I mean, it's not, unless you've got access to another 737-700, it's not going to be a great deal of use to you, is it?
I mean, we don't tend to cover many stories on this show about airlines stealing parts of other airlines' aircraft.
That's true. Yeah.
I think this was, a group of people who thought, oh, probably that looked nice on my, office wall. I'll steal this.
Are they a nice looking bit of kit though? Does
not
anybody
really.
know what one looks like?
I mean, as much as I would love to have one sitting here on the desk next to me, they're not exactly. I'd rather have something more interesting hanging.
Right. Okay. I mean, it's not even like it's got lights on it or anything, I suppose.
Well, no. It's
just a box, isn't it, with some wires that go into and out of it.
But I think this airport needs to beef up their security slightly.
I think you're right. Yeah. Well,
any particular part of an aircraft you'd like to steal, Nev, or
seat 1A, for example?
Don't worry, nobody's listening.
No, I think I'd rather reserve judgment on that.
Okay.
Just in case the legal department is.
That's true. Yes.
He says as he pushes away all his BA silver spoons and cutlery sets, and
how rude! How dare you?
Salt and pepper shakers.
That is slanderous right there, Nev. I'd go for him if I were you. That's outrageous.
Anyway, Nev, sticking with you, and you've got some news from BA for all our US listeners.
Yeah, this is great, actually. About time, too. It's on the travelandleisure.com website, passengerterminaltoday.com, executivetraveller.com and breakingtravelnews.com. From December of this year, 2022, BA will move out of its long-standing home at JFK's Terminal 7 and into Terminal 8 at the other end of the terminal precinct, where it will share the lounges of One World partner American Airlines. The shift will strengthen the two airlines' transatlantic joint business venture, which also includes BA siblings Iberia and Aer Lingus, along with Finnair. Finnair already operates from Terminal 8, however. Iberia and Aer Lingus have not indicated their intent to move as of yet. The move will also clear the way for the ageing Terminal 7 to be demolished and replaced by an all-new Terminal 6, which will become JetBlue's JFK hub. As customers arrive at Terminal 8, the two co-branded American Airlines and British Airways premium check-in areas, providing personalised concierge-style service for top-tier guests, will replace American's former flagship first check-in space. Once through security, 3 distinctive custom lounges combining the best of both brands will provide a refined, welcoming pre-flight experience for selected guests based on cabin of travel and loyalty program status. The expanded premium lounge offerings will incorporate seating for approximately 1,000 American and BA customers. The most exclusive lounge of the trio will go all out with a champagne bar, fireside lounge and an a la carte dining room. This is expected to be the new T8 Concorde room equivalent, which is a fully fledged first-class lounge restricted to passengers travelling in the Primo cabin, along with the likes of elite invitation-only programs such as British Airways Executive Club Premier, American Airlines Concierge Key, and Qantas's Chairman's Lounge. Next door to this will be another premium lounge, the hallmarks of which will include sweeping airside views, a wine bar, cocktail lounge, library and buffet. Meanwhile, 2 existing American Airline lounges at T8, the already massive flagship lounge and the adjacent Admirals Club at T7 in Concourse B, will be combined to create a contiguous lounge for eligible business class customers, making it to BA's T7 Club lounge and thus also welcoming BA Executive Club Silver frequent flyers. The revamped Terminal 8 will include 5 new wide-body gates, an enhanced baggage handling system and about 130,000 square feet of new and renovated terminal space. Well, that sounds rather flash, doesn't it? And can't wait to try that out when it's built at the end of the year.
It does look nice, I will say. The pictures look lovely.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be nice if this lounge access is offered to people who want to just sort of pay a fare or a fee or something to use it, Nev.
Yeah, some of the airlines do offer that, but a lot of it, quite often, you have to have a flying status with the airline in order to have access. But there are pay-for lounges as well, usually. Whether they're going to offer that in this case or not, I don't know.
This may be slightly controversial, but I've always thought that you guys over in Europe have really nice-looking airport terminals. And this renovation of JFK's Terminal 8 really reminds me of a European style. Maybe it's the same companies that renovate airport terminals. Maybe it's probably not that many of them, but I know here in Charlotte we're going through a multi-billion-dollar terminal renovation, and it's actually looking very European, which is nice. I love the way you guys do the. That's twice we're going to say the word aesthetics on the show. The aesthetics of your airport terminals over there, I've always really enjoyed. Specifically, Norway. I think Norway's terminals are really pretty.
Actually, all the Scandinavian ones are, I think. I'm off to Copenhagen and Stockholm next week, so I should be sampling some of those. But the design and the layouts in particular, I quite like, I must say.
Yeah, they're calming. That's what I thought going through Scandinavian airports. They calm your experience as you're, trucking across the ocean or whatever. And Megan is across the desk from me, and she said it was like a living wall, which is true. I think I remember that airport in Oslo, was it? Or was it Reykjavik?
Reykjavik.
It was Reykjavik terminal that it was, it had ivy on the walls, and then the food offerings there were natural and fresh, and lots of wood and natural materials. Lots of fish, she says.
Oh yeah, it would be. Yes.
What's Nev?
Who doesn't want to fly after eating a bunch of fish?
You're well travelled within Europe, Nev. What's your favourite airport in Europe to travel into?
Let me think. I think the problem is that a lot of them have got very big, and as they've got big, they've become louder and not quite so personalised, if you see what I mean. Having said that, Copenhagen in particular has expanded massively over the last 10 years or so, but they've still have the ability to make it fairly calming inside. And certainly the lounge layouts are very nice in there. So I was going to try that out on Monday when I get there. Because I've not been back to Copenhagen for probably 6, 7 years, I guess, something like that. So
NPE then, possible?
Might well do that, yes. Ooh. Yes, I might well do that.
Exciting.
When's the last time anyone went through Luton?
Sorry,
I mean,
talking about calming experience.
I mean, it was a few years ago. I'll be honest with you. But you see, you're all horrible about Luton. But I have to say, the last time,
it's a hideous
it's not. I don't agree.
Our LaGuardia.
Last time myself and Mum went through there, it was absolutely brilliant. Admittedly, we were participating in the whole. What's the word? The
customer freebies?
No, the passenger assistance element to it, and that made it a very, very pleasant experience because we had our own little lounge to go and sit in, and and all that kind of thing. So I think it's.
And were you drinking lager at 5:30 in the morning, like they all do?
Need to go through Luton.
Admittedly, I did have a pint of cider with my breakfast at 6 a.m.
Neil in the chat room is defending Luton. I have to say it's been about 3 years since I've been to Luton, and that was the height of the construction there. So
okay, yes, it was quite. Yeah. It's they have been doing a lot of building work. I will give you that.
Andy Wilson says in the chat room that he doesn't miss Luton at all.
Yeah, he would know, huh?
Yeah.
That is true. That is very true. Yes.
Anyway, Armando, sticking with you and moving to your neck of the woods.
Yeah, this is right down the street. It's about 45 minutes, which is why I chose this story for this show.
I love that. Right down the street, 45 minutes away. You Americans are crazy. We're losing our minds if we have to travel like 12 miles, Armando.
I giggle when I drive on your motorways and I see signs that say, make sure you take a rest every 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 hours is how long I sit in traffic on my daily commute.
True that.
You know, if you live in the Washington, D.C. area, or really any metropolitan area, but it's about 20 miles from where my parents live in Fredericksburg to downtown Washington, D.C., where they worked, and it would take them 2 hours.
Wow.
That was a 2 hour drive to go 25 miles or something like that.
What?
Actually, my daily commute is an hour and 15 minutes to the airport, as Carlos saw there. So if I end up getting a job at Boom Supersonic, because we might as well go talk about the story. Boom Supersonic has chosen Piedmont Triad International Airport, wink, wink, if you know any other podcasts, in North Carolina, as its site for its first full-scale manufacturing plant. Now, the company says that it will be where Boom manufactures the world's fastest and most sustainable supersonic airliner. Builders are set to break ground this year, 2022, and begin production 2024 on the aircraft. The company says that the site, nicknamed the Overture Super Factory, will be a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility, final assembly line, test facility, and customer delivery center for the Overture Supersonic airline. Now, that's the one that we've been talking about on the show. That's the one that United Airlines signed up to the tune of something like 50 million, 110 million. I can't remember. So this aircraft is going to bring about 2,400 jobs to the local area by the year 2032. That's great for this area. They said the CEO of Boom Supersonic, Blake Scholl, said that selecting the site for Overture manufacturing is a significant step forward in bringing sustainable supersonic air travel to passengers and airlines, with some of the country's best and brightest aviation talent, key suppliers, and the state of North Carolina's continued support. Boom is confident that Greensboro will emerge as the world's supersonic manufacturing hub. So why North Carolina out of all 50 states? The choice of Greensboro was actually partly due to the availability of a strong aerospace workforce. Here in North Carolina, we have a strong presence of military veterans. Boom is also looking at the surrounding areas and found that North Carolina offers access to many technical schools, which could funnel highly skilled workers to the factory. And North Carolina's universities are world-renowned. The Piedmont Triad area, which is Greensboro, is also close to many other Tier 1 aerospace suppliers. This will make access to valued aviation resources seamless. And lastly, the close proximity to the East Coast will allow for supersonic test flights over the Atlantic. So it's both poetic and logical that Boom Supersonic would choose the states that's first in flight for its first manufacturing plant, according to the North Carolina governor, Roy Cooper. Like the success of the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk, this innovative company will succeed by transforming passenger air travel with speed and sustainable energy. So while the manufacturing center will be here in Greensboro, North Carolina, the headquarters for Boom Aerospace will remain in Denver, Colorado. The article goes on here, but in 2022, the contractors are expected to begin construction. It's about 400,000 square feet facility on a 65-acre campus. A bunch of internships. First flights expected by about 2026, the year 2026. And of course, the aircraft we've talked about already, but it's basically 65 to 88 passengers operating on a 100% sustainable aviation fuel, capable of New York to London in 3.5 hours. So cutting time in half. There you go. And Boom Supersonic obviously is doing very well. I talked about United Airlines. And then Japan Airlines has also chipped in $10 million for the development of this airliner with an option to purchase 20 of them. And I can't remember if we did an article on this, but the U.S. Air Force actually pitched in $60 million in a strategic partnership with Boom Aerospace, bringing the company's total funding for this project at least to $270 million. So,
wow.
Yeah. Very cool, huh? So, because they're breaking ground right down the street, we can maybe do the 600th episode from the Boom Supersonic factory here in Greensboro.
I like your thinking. I like it.
Well, by that time the airplane will be flying, and it'll only take you guys. You could come here before lunch. We'll do the show 600th, and then fly back home the next day.
Well, and if player's still operating by then, we can do it at a very reasonable rate as
300 quid, less than 300 quid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Amen to
Bonus.
that.
Well, Nev can take it back to his childhood and fly transatlantic on the Boom Supersonic. Would you? Would you do it?
Yes, I would. Yes. Having been on one supersonic aircraft in my life, it would be nice if I can go on another one at some point. So, yeah.
I guess the only downside it's going to be United Airlines. So.
Oh dear.
Brian Coleman will be fine then.
Yeah.
He'll have plenty of air miles to.
Well, yes.
So
Absolutely.
my Star Alliance status ran out many years ago, I'm afraid. So.
No.
Yeah, no chance.
I don't even know what that is.
Now, Matt,
Yes.
you have got the next story, and Nev, you'll need to grab the tissues because you are going to cry when you hear
Oh
this story.
dear.
It's all right, I've got the gaffer tape at the ready.
Oh right. Okay. Well, I mean, if you can't mend it with gaffer tape, you know what they say.
You haven't used enough.
True. there is absolutely. Anyway, this is from several sources, 1 mile at a time, Simple Flying, and Twitter as well. And it's quite a shocking story, actually. Door ripped off of a British Airways Boeing 777 in Cape Town. A British Airways Boeing 777-200ER lost a door between flights at Cape Town Airport CPT today. The 21-year-old plane, which had the registration code Golf Yankee Mike Hotel, flew from London to Cape Town on Tuesday evening, landing in Cape Town early Wednesday morning. The aircraft on this BA rotation is typically expected to be on the ground in Cape Town for around 12 hours. Rather than occupying a gate all day, the plane is moved to a parking stand for much of the day. This is standard practice at busy airports, as it allows the gate to be used for other flights, and parking stands cost less to occupy than gates. Unfortunately, after arrival, things didn't exactly go as planned. It seems that Wednesday's incident occurred as the aircraft was being sent towards its parking stand for the day. The door came off the plane while it was being towed with no passengers on board. It was suggested that the jet bridge was left attached to the aircraft, ripping off the door as the plane was pushed past it. The plane was supposed to sit at Cape Town Airport all day and then operate an overnight flight back to London Heathrow, departing at 9:15 p.m. with the flight number BA42. As you'd expect, that flight was cancelled. While there's a lot in the airline industry that can be fixed with duct tape and or industry standard speed tape, this hopefully isn't one of those things. It's understood that the aircraft is still on the ground in Cape Town. Now, actually, Nev, we discuss sort of like media fails amongst ourselves quite readily. And I think, if I seem to remember, I saw some quite shocking headlines about this on both the Daily Mail and the Express. And they were proper clickbait headlines. And on first glance, when you read this, I thought this had happened in the air. And every fibre of my being was thinking, I just do not understand how this was possible. So, I mean, it worked because I wouldn't normally click on those ads because they annoy me. It worked because I clicked on it because I was so shocked by the headline that I went, and of course, you know, essentially when you read the article like we've done here, I mean, one of the other things was that, flight cancelled as door is lost. As door is lost off BA airplane, and it's like you read that and you just think, whoa, hang on, what's going on here?
There's been a suggestion by Neil Lamborn in the chat room and others that Carlos is trying to get some more parts to add to his collection.
Sneaky, isn't it?
And that's fair enough, but this is probably a bit extreme way of doing it.
It's a very extreme way of doing it. I mean, I don't know, where would you hang it? It's probably quite heavy, Carlos. You can't really just hang it on the door.
Trust me, Matt. I would find
you
somewhere
would,
to put
right?
that.
Okay. I mean, it's I'm just popping for those watching on YouTube. As I say, the links to the stories will be in the show notes for those who are listening in the audio podcast. But I mean, it's basically the door. I mean, the door doesn't actually look that badly damaged, apart from the hinge aspect to it. So I mean, I don't suppose it will be a massively complicated repair, I would have thought. Perhaps.
Well, it'll be interesting to know how it happened, won't it?
How can they push back?
Was the door open when they were pushing back the aircraft? And if it was, somebody in the flight deck might have noticed there was a bit of a draft coming underneath the flight deck door.
You'd like to think so.
Probably should have seen something on the aircraft to inform them that the door was open.
If it's being pushed by a tug, though, perhaps again, I don't know enough about airport operations.
Probably was.
Somebody please do correct me. I mean, is there a chance that it's being pushed back with a tug? Would there necessarily have been anybody within the aircraft itself to notice something like this? I mean, would it have been? Would it have been?
There's got to be someone on the flight deck that's qualified to operate the aircraft for towing operations. Absolutely, and of course they're in communication with each other as well, just like if it's operating normal flight.
So there should have been like warning lights and stuff. I mean, would it have been powered up enough for like warning lights?
There'll be some electrics on the aircraft. I would have imagined. So yes, that's. I'm
just trying to get my head around how something like this would happen.
Yeah,
isn't it the standard thing? Doors close first before the aircraft is pushed back.
I think it's the way forward. I think that's a really good way of operating the aircraft. Yes, to avoid this sort of thing happening. Yeah.
There's a lot of fails on this one. The jetway was obviously supposed to move before the aircraft gets moved. There was obviously supposed to be somebody in the flight deck making sure that things are ready for the aircraft to move. And then the tug driver, although the tug driver can't see the open door if the jetway is on it. So
but surely there should have been an alarm bell there in the fact that the air bridge was still on it.
Yeah, that's a pretty big fail right there. Yep. I can't move the airplane with a.
I literally. I mean, it's almost like. The only scenario I can think of where this is vaguely okay is, but for some bizarre reason, the aircraft rolled away from it on its own. Do you know what I mean? It's just like I just don't understand how this happened.
Even you wouldn't get this wrong, Matt.
I mean, I'm going to say I'm not going to say that I would or wouldn't. To be honest with you, it's just it's just such a bizarre story. As you say, there are so many things wrong with this story. Like this should be impossible somehow. There must be a way of making this impossible to happen. Anyway,
strange. Anyway, next story, and Nev. This is great news for everyone who gets a chance to sit in those posh seats.
Yes, on the executivetraveller.com, it says that single-aisle jets like the Airbus A320neo family and Boeing 737 MAX are carving out a larger piece of the sky, especially for the medium-range flights to a range of destinations where the economics are more favourable than larger twin-aisle jets. Airlines are now facing a challenge at the pointy end of the plane, where the benchmark has become a lie-flat bed with direct aisle access, such as seen as in JetBlue's Airbus A321LR Mint Business Class. But one seat either side of the aisle limits the number of business class seats and in turn caps the number of high revenue generating passengers. The only way to increase the number of lie flat seats is to remove direct aisle access for some passengers, an approach followed by Singapore Airlines amongst others with its new Boeing 737 MAX Business Class. According to London-based Factory Design, the answer is Access, its new aptly named business class concept, which adopts a unique fan layout for its two abreast seating to provide direct aisle access for every passenger. In an Access business class cabin, the seats on either side of the centre aisle fan out into something of a wedge shape and are not only staggered but physically separated so that passengers in the window seat can sidle into the space between the paired seats and then step straight into the aisle. Access seats recline into what's called a lazy Z, a relaxed shape somewhat closer to a beach chair rather than a flat bed. Importantly, these fixed back seats also recline into their own space or shell, so there's no intrusion on the passenger behind. In this way, Factory Design says Access bridges the gap between a standard 2+2 configuration and lie-flat bed products. For added flexibility, Factory Design says that the space between the Access seats could be closed off to provide additional console space for couples travelling together. Factory Design's reasons that Access can help airlines maximum the potential of commercial benefits of long-range narrow-body aircraft with an estimated 25% boost in seating capacity over lie-flat 1+1 seating. Well, this is all about it does, doesn't it? And of course, it's all about the economics, and we know full well that the airlines need to get those folks into premium economy and business and first to try and make all the numbers work again, because they've had so little revenue over the last couple of years. But this is an interesting approach, and I would be very keen to see how this works.
Yeah.
And certainly those longer routes, you know, the A321s are doing from the east coast of US to the UK, and even perhaps from, you know, Ireland to Tel Aviv, you know, those medium haul routes, and also down to the Canary Islands as well. Be interesting to see how they are.
Yeah, it's a good idea, Nev.
Yeah,
because it's one of those things where a lot of the seat configurations that are currently used by many airlines, you know, in business or, you know, in the business area, you know, when you want to get up to go to the lavatory, you've got to interrupt the person who's probably reclined and has their feet out next to you. You've got to either step over them or ask them to move, which is annoying. And this sort of alleviates that.
I mean, I was just popping the picture up there. If you are listening to the audio version of this, executivetraveller.com is the website you want to go to.
It's a good idea.
It is, as I say, it's just that the diagram that we've got up at the moment has got a great sort of, like, you know, the way it's been laid out really makes clear how as you say, you don't need that direct aisle access, really, if you place it correctly. I mean, it's still a bit cosy, isn't it, around by each seat, but there's nothing to stop you from getting up and getting away, is there? I mean, it's brilliant.
Hey,
I wouldn't see this causing you a problem in an emergency either, if you see what I mean. It's that same sort of thing.
If they're looking for guinea pigs to try out these new seats on aircraft, we are all as a team available.
Well, and also, you know, as the let's put it this way, the largest member of the team, I would be a perfect candidate to make sure that it was very easy for you to get in and also comfortable. If you can make me feel comfortable on an aircraft, you're winning. Absolutely. That's my pitch.
Armando, you've got the next story, and it's about an aircraft manufacturer that I think has got quite a heritage behind them.
Yeah, Friedrichshafen in Germany. Actually, the Dornier Museum in Friedrichshafen is awesome. If anybody ever gets a chance to see it, some cool airplanes in there, especially sitting out right in front. So Dornier, we're talking about them. Big airplane manufacturer. Long history, is now adding a light sport seaplane to its lineup. So this article is actually talking about 3 different aircraft, so hang in there with us as we talk about them. But Dornier Sea Wings has gone all in on its plans to launch a line of amphibious aircraft with the announcement this last Wednesday that it has acquired the Fly Whale FW650 and all of its assets from Uniplanes. Now, this light sport seaplane joins the Dornier Sea Wings main project, which is the Dornier Sea Star. It's an inline twin turboprop amphibian. The fly whale fits very well into our product portfolio, given its flying boat configuration and proven design features such as corrosion-free composites, high wings, and engine, as well as sponsons. That's according to Amy Penn, the CEO of Dornier Sea Wings. According to her, their mission is to revive the Dornier flying boat tradition with advanced technology to provide their customers with a unique experience of superior mobility that combines water, land, and air operations. So the Dornier Sea Wings anticipates that it will market the two-seat aircraft worldwide under the model designation Dornier DS2C. It's expected to travel about 119 knots, which is, here in the U.S. at least, the maximum for a light sport aircraft, with a range of greater than 540 nautical miles. Max takeoff weight will be 1,433 pounds. That's also per LSA category rules, and takeoff and land in about 1,000 feet. Now, the company launched its re-entry into the flying boat scene in 2016 when it announced a partnership with Diamond Aircraft in Canada to build a composite airframe components for the CD2 turboprop. That aircraft features two Pratt & Whitney PT6 power plants, which are also manufactured in Canada. Now, the Sea Star made its first flight on March 23rd, 2020 from the Oberpfaffenhofen EDMO airport in Germany. And the company plans to leverage what it learns from the development of that DS2C into the top line project in the advanced air mobility space, according to them. And of course, they're going to develop a DS2CX eVTOL. That's yeah, right. It's an amphibious light jet. The Dornier is exploring multiple options for powering this eVTOL, including hybrid, hydrogen electric, hybrid using alternative fuels, and also they're joining with some ventures out in China that to help them develop this aircraft. So 3 different aircraft coming to you from Dornier, which there you go. So
yeah, Nick Can, who's joined us in the chat room. Hello, by the way, to everyone who's just joined us in the chat room. Nice to see lots of new faces in there. Nick Can said that about Dornier making flying boats during the Second World War, and they did actually. They produced the Dornier 24, which was built as a bomber reconnaissance and air sea rescue flying boat that was produced back in 1937 and was produced right until 1945. So yeah, they did actually produce a few other ones, actually flying boats during World War II. So
yeah, and there's not a lot of them left, even in museums. That's why I thought the museum there in Friedrichshafen was pretty cool. They're the ones sitting out in front. I forget the designation, but it's a jet, so it's a twin turbojet that takes off vertically, so it's a VTOL. Dornier, yeah, very innovative company all the way back, 75 years.
Yeah, actually, the Dornier 24 was used up until 1967 in the Spanish Air Force. So yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, there we go. Well done. Thanks for that, Armando. And
story.
The last story in the commercial news segment this week, and this has got some interesting pictures. I think Matt's got the pictures to pop up on the screen, and we've all seen aircraft such as the 747 with engines fitted, but it's amazing to see what happens when the engines are removed and we have some snow. And I said snow, Matt, not snow.
Right, just checking.
This is coming to us from aviation24.be, and snow-covered stored Olympic Airways 747-200 tips on its tail. So a snow blizzard has paralyzed a large part of Greece and Turkey, and a rare occurrence in that part of Europe. Alex Philippoulos, a Greek photographer, was able to capture a few amazing shots of a stored 747-200 registration Sierra X-ray Oscar Alpha Bravo at former Elekon Airport, Athens in Greece. Due to the pileup of snow and the lack of 4 engines, the aircraft tipped backwards onto her tail. The photographer comments on his Facebook page. He says that personally, highlights of this bad weather, with the pictures shown on the screen there. The abandoned 747 dropped onto her tail due to the weight of the snow, as if she wanted to get up and leave to escape from the humiliation she's experienced for being stored for the last 21 years. Yes, you heard me correctly, stored there for 21 years, and from a future transformation into kitchenware or keychains, or probably hanging here on my board in front of me. According to planespotters.net, originally this Queen of the Skies was preserved by the Olympic Airways Employees Cultural Centre with the intention of it being put on display at an on-site museum. Now, there's not only that aircraft there. I think when Matt put the picture on the screen, there is a 727 there as well, and a 73, I think, Nev, in the front of that picture was a 737-200, I think, probably. From Olympic, yeah, but it does prove a point though how easy it is to push the center of gravity on something as big as a 747 when you haven't got the engines underneath the wings to obviously balance the aircraft out. Just that amount of snow on the stabilizer pushed that aircraft onto its tail.
Well, I hope the guys that just turned that other 747 into a party town took that into account. Because if you get a mosh pit and everybody moves to the back, we'll see how that turns out.
Well, the engines are still on it, so who knows? Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe that was their thinking, is they'll leave the engines on.
I mean, that would be one hell of a party, wouldn't it?
I would, absolutely.
Oh, and then everybody runs back to the front.
Yeah. Yeah, no revelers were harmed during the making of this silliness. Quite.
So that is the commercial news segment bringing to a close. So we have got some news on our 400th show, which is coming up in February this year, and it's in a few weeks' time, isn't it, Nev? It's only a few weeks.
Not long.
26th of Feb.
26th, yeah. We have. If you haven't already sent us an email with your interest to come, we've got a couple of spaces left. So if there is a couple of you out there who haven't yet sent us an email in to say you're going to come and join us for the 400th, which we're having at Brooklands Museum here in the UK, and home of aviation and motorsport as well. It's on the 26th of February, as I said. You can send us an email, podcast@planetalkinguk.com. But we have sent out some emails in the last couple of weeks regarding we're having a little buffet, aren't we, guys, in the afternoon after the live show. And if you have already sent your interest to come to the 400th, check your inbox, because you would have received an email this week in regards to our buffet that we're having in the afternoon after the live show. And there's some info in that email for you to have a look. So check your inboxes just in case you missed that this week. But Nev, it's safe to say, I think, Nev, that with the restrictions kind of lightening up here in the UK, that I think we are good to go.
Yeah, of course, they're lifting the restrictions, all the testing restrictions as well, to come into the UK, which is great, from February the 11th. So that's good news. And you don't have to wear a mask in a public place. But I think what we'll do, we'll take some advice from the museum and also the hotel to see what they want us to do. And we'll mention that in the mail that we send out too.
Indeed.
Yeah. But looking forward to seeing everyone.
Definitely moving in the right direction, though. Whatever is happening. So,
and Armando, you're flying in as well to join us, aren't you, for the 400th?
Yeah, as long as everything stays the way it is, we should have an uneventful trip. We've already booked our lodging arrangements, our tickets, our transfers, and we're spending 5 days total in the UK. Wow. Bringing the fam along.
Lovely.
And we've got quite a good list of guests joining us for the show. We've got two very special guests who are going to be with us at the 400th, but you'll have to wait till the 400 to see who they'll be. But we have got some well-known faces, haven't we, Nev, from the podcasting community joining us. Just to name a few, Nev, go on.
Yes, Brian Coleman and main man Micah are coming over from the US. We'll have Captain Al there. I think Pip is going to be there as well. Andy, actually, no, Andy's not going to be there, sadly, because he's on standby from the A320 podcast. But Matt's coming down from the A320 podcast.
Captain Jeff.
Captain Jeff is going to be there as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be a fantastic time. And as Carlos says, we've got a couple of great presenters who are going to join us as well to tell us their story about aviation and what they've been up to.
Indeed.
And the venue itself, well, Brooklands Museum, it doesn't get much more iconic than that. Absolutely fantastic place to walk around. And then back to the local hotel afterwards for buffet and a glass of orange juice, perhaps, at the bar.
And orange juice, right? Okay, and I'm even more excited because we're launching something as well at the 400.
We have, I know.
Yeah,
for
which I'm
those,
quite
for those
excited
of you,
about. Yeah.
Actually, we might just point out for those of you who aren't able to attend the live show we're having at Brooklands, we will be streaming the show live on our YouTube page. And as Matt just said, we have got a very special something new.
Well, it's an announcement, really, isn't it? It is a bit of an
yes.
announcement, isn't it, to do with the thing. Yes, I don't. Well, there we go. We won't go into any more detail. Leave it there. Anyway, before we get shouted at by John, we should probably move on.
Moving on, Armando, handing things over to you.
Yeah, sorry, I was taking care of the chat room there. Despite your best efforts, we still have plenty of time for military. So if you guys are ready, I'll have Matt hit that button. All right, this first military story, the chat room actually already beat me to it. They were talking about F-35s not floating so well. The first part of the first story comes to us from thedrive.com, and it is photos emerging of that crashed British F-35B after it was hauled out of the Mediterranean. It was recovered from the seabed after its dramatic loss, which we all saw the video, the recorded security footage of the aircraft plopping off the front of the HMS Queen Elizabeth. Now, this photo has appeared online showing the recovered wreckage of that F-35. That fighter had originally been brought to the surface in December, as was kind of reported, but any kind of imagery of the salvage jet had not yet appeared in the public domain. The origin of the photo is still unclear, but it has now been shared on different social media sites. The photo taken from a vessel used in the recovery process shows the F-35B lying on its back on the deck with its landing gear extended and the weapons bay doors open. I think, keep going, Matt. Matt's putting up these pictures right now. The forward fuselage with its cockpit section is not visible in these pictures, but the aircraft seems to be largely intact. Now, this photo shows the serial number ZM152 on the jet, and that had previously been confirmed by the government as the aircraft that was operating on the Royal Navy's flagship when it was underway in the Eastern Mediterranean on November 17th of last year. Now, the aircraft is purported to have ingested an air intake cover, and that the pilot had unsuccessfully attempted to abort the takeoff after it became clear that the jet wasn't going to fly. And of course, the pilot ejected, came down safely on the carrier. The footage appeared in November that showed the final moments of that aircraft, and that appeared to have been captured on a cell phone video. And I think we read a little bit later that that individual had now been prosecuted by the authorities for releasing that video on social media. So there you go. The second non-floating F-35 is just recently happened off the USS Carl Vinson in the South China Sea. Now, this mishap injured 7 individuals, according to the U.S. Pacific Fleet. The pilot was conducting routine flight operations when this crash happened. They safely ejected and were recovered by a military helicopter, according to the Pacific Fleet. And that pilot is in stable condition. 6 others were injured on the deck of the aircraft carrier. 3 required evacuation to a medical facility in Manila, in the Philippines. They are all in stable condition, according to the U.S. Navy. The other 3 sailors were treated on the carrier and have since been released. The cause of the in-flight mishap, as they're calling it, is still under investigation. As you can imagine, a spokesperson for the Navy's 7th Fleet in Japan, Lieutenant Mark Langford, said that the impact to the Vinson's flight deck was superficial. Merely a flesh wound. And the warship and its air wing had resumed normal operations. As for the F-35, the status of the recovery is, quote, in progress. This is the first crash for an F-35C, which is the U.S. Navy's variant of this single-engine fighter, designed for operations specifically off of aircraft carriers. Of course, this C version has more features, more robust landing gear, designed to handle these carrier takeoffs and landings, or just general Navy pilot, because they're terrible. No, I'm just kidding. Beefier landing gear to handle Navy pilots manhandling the airplane. Folding wings for it to fit on a crowded flight deck. Larger wings, larger payload, and longer operating range. That's what makes the F-35C a little bit unique. This aircraft carrier was in the South China Sea along with the USS Abraham Lincoln strike group in some exercises down there. So obviously this has been in the news media here in the US at least, and it is important, like it was when we talked about the British F-35, very important for them to recover this aircraft before anybody else does.
Yeah.
As you can imagine.
A slight security issue, shall we say.
Yep. And this, they didn't mention in this, but apparently it was on landing. So it was something went awry on the landing, and the aircraft hit the deck, as they say.
Wow.
Yeah. And if there's one thing that's not good for aircraft, that's salt water.
Well, quite. Yeah. Yeah. Certainly not manufacturer recommended, anyway.
No. So next story coming to us from ukaviation.news, and this is great news, especially for me and Matt. And this is 2 ex-Royal Air Force BAE 146 aircraft to be preserved at museums. So 2 are Royal Air Force BAE 146 Mark II transport aircraft are set to be preserved at aircraft museums in the UK. The type's retirement at the end of March 22, actually just round the corner. The BAE 146 Mark II is operated by 32 Squadron, the Royal Air Force, at RAF Northolt, and has been used to transport military personnel, government ministers, and of course the royal family. The British Airliner collection at Duxford, will get one of the aircraft, while the South Wales Aviation Museum at St Athan will get the other. Commanding Officer Number 2 Group Air Vice Marshal Sawara Marshall said the BAE 146 aircraft have served the UK proudly over many decades, including during numerous operations, including Iraq and Afghanistan. After 4 decades of service, the aircraft have now reached the end of their service lives, and I'm delighted that the 146s are going to be moved to good homes and joining the collections of 2 fantastic aviation museums. The Royal Air Force currently has 4 BAE 146s in service, and the 2 destined for the museums are the VIP configured CC Mark II models. The fate of the 2 QC Mark III models, which feature a retrofitted freight door, are being brought by a civilian operator. The disposal is being managed by the Defence Equipment and Support, or the DE&S. And Richard Murray, Director Air Support for DE&S, commented that they are proudly supporting the BAE 146s over the years and through the Defence Equipment Sales Authority, and have assured that the heritage of these aircraft are highly regarded. The BAE or RAF BA-146 aircraft feature an extensive defence suite to ensure the safe transportation of high-level VIPs. And the RAF is yet to confirm what aircraft will replace the type, although the UK government is using, as we all know, a air tanker A330 for VIP transport of high-level ministers. Now, one of the comments I made last night when we were doing the planning for this story is I wonder just how much of the interior and other bits and pieces they will leave on these 146s before they drop these into Duxford.
I mean, this was mainly a passenger sort of like craft, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It started life as a passenger aircraft.
So I mean, if any security bits and pieces will no doubt have to be removed, but I'd like to think that they'll be pretty much as they were when used by the royal family and ministers. To be honest with you, I mean that's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm hoping to see a little bit of luxury. That's what I'm hoping
I think
for.
It's great to see these two, saved, because the 146 is a dying breed. They have been, leaving us for quite some time now in different countries. I think there's still a few in, I think Africa. There's some of these in Africa. I'm sure there is passenger configured ones. But it'll be nice to see these at Duxford, Matt. It'll be nice to go and have a look around these when they eventually come in. And I'll tell you, it would be really good if we could somehow get in touch with these guys and find out when the one will be flying into Duxford.
I think it's already there, isn't it?
Was it already there?
Yeah, I'm sure that it's already arrived.
Oh.
Is it on view yet?
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
No. Okay.
No, definitely have to go and look around these. Though it'd be good to see these. But do you remember these, Nev, flying into London City?
I do. It was the first jet ever to operate in and out of London City Airport, and I've been on a few now, and I like the aircraft. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but I must say I do like it, and the seating is on the commercial ones, at least in a 2x2 configuration, and depending on what version of the aircraft you were on, either sort of 86 seats or 75 seats, something like that, I think, from memory.
Wow.
But no, fabulous aircraft, very, very versatile, and for the short haul hops or even some medium haul stuff. I've certainly been on one down to Faro in the Algarve from London City Airport. So really good aircraft, and great to see them being preserved.
Yeah, Dan Air used to have these as well, Nev. I didn't realise that.
Yes, they did. Yep.
Yeah.
Air UK and many operators had them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there was quite a list of operators here in the U.S. too. I remember flying them U.S. Air livery. I think it was PSA Airlines at the time. I can't remember if it was Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, but or Washington, Reagan. But I remember as a kid flying on 146s. It was a pretty cool airplane back then too. I think there's a few of them still flying here in the U.S. as air tankers for Neptune Air Service.
Wow.
Interesting.
And militaries. I think some militaries still use 146s.
Now, Nev, you've got the next story, and I know you and Matt are big fans of Formula One, but
Producer John is as well. He's a big fan.
Well, yes, and as Martin Brundle might say, who's one of the commentators on Sky F1, I think somebody needs to take a sensible pill here.
Yeah.
But it's on the Reuters.com website, and it says that Formula One will ban pre-race flypasts by military aircraft this season, but Britain's Red Arrows display team will be exempt along with passenger jets using sustainable fuels. Formula One said the decision was taken for environmental reasons, with the sport determined to reduce its carbon footprint. Silverstone Circuit Managing Director Stuart Pringle confirmed in a statement that the Red Arrows would remain part of the British Grand Prix lineup. The Red Arrows have played a significant part in entertaining motorsport fans since they first performed at the British Grand Prix in 1966, and I'm pleased to say that the Formula One has confirmed that this much-loved tradition can continue at Silverstone in 2022, he said. The Red Arrows, officially known as the Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team, are not classed as military aviation and as such do not fall into the category of those displays that will no longer be permitted at Formula One events. Italy's Corriere della Sera reported that the country's Frecce Tricolori would no longer feature at Imola and Monza this year, however. The paper said some suspected Formula One wanted to remove displays that might be seen as shows of military power or propaganda. The same newspaper is now reporting that the French Tricolori will indeed still be allowed to fly, as it is a separate aerobatic division of the Italian Air Force. They will continue to perform in Italian skies before the race because it falls into the display teams category. It's a common sense decision, not least because exceptions have been made for commercial and historic aircraft, such as the Red Bull fleet that performs in Austria, he added. Purely military aircraft will remain on the ground, including jets, helicopters and fighter bombers. According to some, they are used by some countries to demonstrate their military strength, this correspondent said. Several races have regularly featured flypasts by fighter jets and commercial airliners. Races in Abu Dhabi and Bahrain are sponsored by airlines Etihad and Gulf Air respectively, with both using their Boeing 787 Dreamliners to highlight low-emission technology and sustainable fuel. Formula One is aiming to achieve a net zero carbon footprint by 2030, with 100% sustainable fuels from 2026, when a new engine is introduced. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be political. I think someone's taken leave of their senses here by banning fly past like that. I don't even think for 1 minute that countries are trying to show their military strength. I think it's Formula One is a very important revenue generator for the sport, the teams, and also its fans as well. And,
also, I mean, I've watched a lot of GP races and things like that, and at no point when there's been a display team flying past that. I mean, especially if you're watching obviously, I mean, here in the UK, Sky's got its own dedicated channel, and it starts quite early on in the day, doesn't it? So there's all the build up and all that kind of thing, and they'll quite often cut to one of the display teams doing their thing, and at no point have I ever thought while I've watched that, that'll be Italy showing off how butch they are. Do you know what I mean? It's like one of those sort of, I don't get, as you say, like the whole military might thing. At no point had that ever entered into my head, the reason that fly past was taking place.
Well,
I like Julie's comment in the chat room. Sorry, guys, for Julie's comment in the chat room. She says, environmental reasons, as all the drivers get into their private jets and go home.
Well, there is that.
That's a very good point.
And
Neil is talking about the 747 fleet that flies the entire operation around the world. I remember seeing the Dakar Rally aviation operation, and they're using probably 6 ginormous aircraft to shuttle all the crews and the stations around, and that's a fairly limited time span for a race. The Formula One. Exactly. Julie, dead on. What a silly thing, because how many people are flying their private jets to these Formula One races?
Absolutely.
So
many years ago, I was actually at Silverstone doing some bits and pieces as a driver, believe it or not. And one of the jobs that I had was driving a minibus from the helipad to the stands where they were going to their various corporate events and all that kind of thing. And I was very, very busy all day in that thing. I mean, I've never seen so many helicopters and goodness knows what else. I mean, I think, if I'm honest, that's where they need to look at their carbon footprint. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. Arnie Carlson's got a great suggestion. F1 will start using wood-fired hot air balloons from now on. I think that's clearly the future. Mr. McCarran will be delighted that we've managed to segue in a hot air balloon into our military section.
I also love that they're trying to say that the Hawk The T1 is military might.
Right. Yes.
Certainly not military might.
Maybe that's why it's exempt.
Yeah, that is probably it.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, man, it's not that mighty.
You're all right. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, tell you what, let's just shut them all up and we'll do a really green version for Formula One, and we'll just have lots of drones flying over.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I could say I would argue that I think the fly past that they did at the Farnborough Air Show is probably the most green that the Red Arrows has ever been. I was actually bored. That never happens.
Now, Armando, you've got the last story here, and it's all about pilot shortages, which have obviously happened because you're no longer flying for the Air Force.
Yeah, so this story made it in here. Actually, this was John's suggestion. As we continue to talk about pilot shortages and recovering from the pandemic, and big in the news, just this week was United Airlines opened their doors on their Aviate Academy. So it's really, to be honest, the first ab initio program here in the US, at least in recent times. Over there in Europe and the Middle East, these are fairly common, but we've talked about on the show how perhaps one of the best ways for airlines to address the shortage is to have these programs. United Airlines did this, but we put the story in here because it is not just the airlines and the commercial sector that is short on pilots. The U.S. Air Force, the U.S. military is also short on pilots. And this particular article is talking about the strategies that the U.S. Air Force is using to ramp up and accelerate training, improve retention as it faces a shortage of more than 1,600 pilots. That's according to the U.S. Air Force releasing their data. Now, obviously, nothing is far from new. We were working this back when I was in the Air Force 5 years ago. But just recently, the Department of Defense here in the United States told Congress that it was facing a shortfall of up to 3,000 pilots. Now, Colonel John Odell, he's the Military Deputy Director for Training and Readiness, specifically the Air Crew Task Force for the United States Air Force. He was quoted saying that the severity and the dynamic of the shortfall varies among the military services. All services are experiencing pilot shortfalls due to several years of underproduction in pilot training and reduced aircraft readiness. These shortfalls have been exacerbated by a higher than average attrition among experienced aviators. The internal challenges of underproduction and aircraft material readiness have resulted in an extended time to train new aviators, a lack of sufficient flight time per pilot, extended and frequent deployments, I'll come back to that, and other quality of life concerns for aviators. Now, the U.S. Army, on the other hand, has helped fill its pilot gap, which they said that their pilot shortage was about 330 pilots in 2019. They did that with money. They said that the Army has made substantial progress in closing our pilot shortage, which several years ago grew out of reduced budgets and reduced accessions to flight schools. And the active Army aviator population is higher today than it has been in the past 10 years based on these increased accessions, targeted retention bonuses, which is a nice way of throwing money at people, and the first increase in incentive pay, or flight pay as we call it, for the Army, at least in 20 years. That the first increase took place in 2020. So when it comes to filling pilot positions, the problem is unsurprisingly mostly in the Air Force. In 2017, for example, the service reported a shortfall of about 2,000 pilots. That rate has not really changed too much until recently. At the end of fiscal year 2020, which was just last year, the Air Force reported a pilot shortage of 1,925 pilots. So what are they doing? Basically, they are trying to figure out how to get through the pandemic, which obviously was a reduction in flight hours and training hours. I think I saw a comment on the chat room. Somebody lives near Columbus Air Force Base. And yes, all of the training bases, that's one of the major training bases, the training was cut, and that led to some proficiency issues. at Vance, Randolph, Columbus Air Force Base, Laughlin Air Force Base. Now this has created this tremendous backlog. Now, one of the things that the Air Force has tried to institute is the embracing the use of technology. So they've coined undergraduate pilot training 2.5, UPT 2.5. This is supposed to expedite the initial phases of pilot training. It uses simulators, fixed base simulators. It uses virtual reality. So a lot of the advanced maneuvers that the students would face a little bit further in the training pipeline are now being introduced before spending money and instructor resources on an actual aircraft. So now they're able to learn the formation flying, some of the tactical skills on the ground with virtual reality. And then that obviously opens up a pool of instructor pilots to fly the real aircraft and then have a ground-based flight instructor, right? And you can use some supporting career fields for that. The Air Force also developed a civil path to wings program, which accelerates Air Force flight training for civilians, such as airline pilots or hobbyists. I love that they call them hobbyists who have flying experience. Nowadays, if we have a broad range of listeners to this show, we're almost always talking about commercial aviation and airline careers. It is an entirely viable path to go into the U.S. military, the U.S. Air Force, and get all your ratings there. Now, that was traditionally back in the 1970s and the 80s how most, I think, upwards of 80% of airline pilots had a military background. Just a few weeks ago when I was down in Atlanta, they were 2020, it was 28% hiring was military. The others, 72% were civilian background, mostly from the regionals. So it is entirely a viable path for people to go to. And like the Army, the Air Force is throwing a lot of money at the problem. The pilot retention bonuses are increasing. They're pretty hefty. Additionally, I mentioned their quality of life and deployments. There are personnel task force that is dedicated to figure out how to make pilot lives better. And that's not pilots being prima donnas. I experienced it, which was mission creep. I was trained as an aviator, but by the time you get into a management role, into a leadership role, you do a little bit less flying, a little bit less flying, a little bit less flying. Next thing you know, you're flying every 55 days for currency because it's every 60 days is when you got to get some takeoffs and landings. And that kind of role creeping is being looked at as, well, perhaps we need to split aviators off into two separate tracks, one going into sort of a leadership track and one going into an aviator track where you can essentially go into the senior levels of officer ranks in the 05, probably not the 06 level, but the 05 lieutenant colonel or whatever the service equivalent levels are.
Alex Robinson has a question for you. As a British citizen, how do I sign up for this USAF training?
As a British citizen, you can download what's DCS, right? That's the fighter jet game, the video game.
Oh,
PC game.
Okay.
And you too can fly an F-16.
Right, okay, fair enough.
No, actually,
I don't think that's quite what he had in mind.
Nope, we do have exchange programs. Actually, the Air Force One right now has a RAF pilot. An RAF group commander is at the helm of Air Force One. So we do have a pretty robust exchange program with our closest partner nations. So we have Australian pilots. We have quite a few British pilots actually in the U.S. Air Force. We had an RAF pilot, a C-130J's pilot from Bryce Norton, who was in my squadron in Cannon Air Force Base, New Mexico, and he was a full-fledged member. I mean, he wore his RAF uniform, but full-fledged member of our squadron and our tactical team. So
wow, cool.
I suppose we tend to forget, don't we? We talk about on the show all the time about the pilot shortage and the commercial and civilian side of things, but we don't really ever touch on the fact that the military are short of pilots.
Yeah.
Well, in the US anyway. But I'd imagine
very much so.
We are in the UK, but yeah, interesting.
We did a story last year at some point where I think the Australian Air Force was also looking for pilots. So they were looking at U.S. military individuals to come over there and fly in the RAAF. So, yeah, military aviation. It's a great way. My entire class at my my ATP CTP class was all military. Was all 10 of us were military aviators, trying to get our ATP certificates. So it's a great way to.
We're too old, Matt. We've missed that.
You're all right, thanks. You carry on.
Okay. and Nev, they wouldn't let you in because you don't like it. So
nor would I fit in the aircraft either.
Okay, so with you, Nev, as we're going to wrap up the show, and Nev, where can our glorious listeners find us if they can't already find us on social media?
Yes, you go to Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, search for Plain Talking UK. You can WhatsApp us in the studio, +44 757 2249 That's +44 757 2249 Email address is podcast@plaintalkinguk.com, and our website is all the W's, plaintalkinguk.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and you'll get notifications when we go live, and you can search for Plain Talking UK on YouTube as well. On our website, there's an Amazon link for you. If you do your shopping through Amazon, we get paid a small referral fee, and you can also become a Patreon and donate money to us, and we're very grateful for all the people that do that.
Yep, and don't forget you can also shop on our website as well if you fancy getting yourself one of our PTUK t-shirts and mug as well. Yes. If you fancy having your morning brew in something very special.
Indeed.
So,
Indeed.
Yeah. So that is where we are going to bring episode 397 of the show to a close. A massive thanks to everyone in the YouTube chat room who's joined us this evening. Big thanks to all the family members in there for joining us tonight, and a big thanks as well to all the new faces we've seen in the chat room tonight. Great to see some new people joining us in the chat room tonight. So thanks everyone for all the hard work again tonight. Thank you, Nev. Thanks, Matt and Armando as well, and not forgetting John for all his work in the background, getting stuff ready for the show on a Friday night. And that's about all we have time for this week, guys. So have a great weekend, everyone. Don't forget to tune in next Friday. Well, we'll all hopefully be back again. So from me, Carlos, here in my home studio, from Nev, relaxing in his chair in his studio at home, and from Armando wearing a t-shirt that I would love to have here at home with Pilatus written on. Take care, everyone. See you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right. In our first military story, we're talking about F-35s going to the bottom of the ocean.
Quite.
There's one for the blooper reel.
No, it's broke. Oh, no.
There's one for the blooper reel.